Eric slept alone in my bed that night. Although I'd claimed I was going to sleep on the futon downstairs, I ended up with Bobby and Claire in their bed. I lay between them, with my arms folded over my chest. "What I feel really shitty about," I said, "is how worried I am for myself. Eric is sick, and I feel sorry for him, but in this sort of remote way. It's like my self-concern is a Sousa march, and Eric's actual illness is this piccolo playing in the background." "That's natural enough," she said. "But listen, you're probably fine. You've been healthy for, over a year since the last time you and Eric. It can incubate for at least 5 years," I said. "Lately, they've been thinking it could be as long as 10. She nodded. Something was wrong. She wasn't responding the way I'd expected her to, with Claire-like grit and flippancy. She seemed to have fallen out of character. Bobby lay in silence on my other side. He had barely spoken since dinner. "Bobby?" I said. "Uh-huh. What's going on over there? You're so damn quiet." "I'm okay," he said. "I'm just thinking." Claire squeezed my elbow. I knew what she meant. Leave him alone until he's had time to settle into his own reaction. Bobby negotiated the world's surprises with a deliberateness that was almost somnolent. Claire and I had decided privately that if the house caught fire, one of us would take responsibility for helping him decide which window to jump out of. "I just feel so strange," I said. "How am I going to get through the days from now on without checking myself for symptoms every 5 minutes? "Honey, you're probably fine," Claire said, but her voice lacked conviction. By way of compensation, she patted my chest. Since the baby was born, Claire had become more prone to physical contact, though her caresses were still flighty and vague, as if she suspected the flesh of others might burn her hands. "What do you think, Bobby?" I asked. "I think you're okay," he answered. "Well, that's good. I'm glad you think so." Claire said, "I wonder how Eric is going to manage this. I have a feeling he hasn't got a lot of friends." "He has friends," I said. "What do you think? He lives in a vacuum? You think he's just some sort of bit player with no life of his own?" "How would I know?" Claire said. I realized from the sound of her voice that she blamed me in some way for failing to love Eric. Since the baby was born, she'd discarded a measure of her old cynicism and held the world more accountable to standards of unfaltering affection. "Please don't get peevish with me," I said. "Not now. You can get doubly peevish with me another time." "I'm not being peevish," she said. It was a habit of hers to disavow her actions even as she performed them. I believed, at that moment, that by being herself she could do serious harm to the baby. How would it affect Rebecca to grow up with a mother who screamed, "I'm not screaming"? "Right," I said. "You're not. You always know exactly what's coming out of your own mouth, and whatever anybody else thinks he hears is an illusion." "We don't need to have a fight right now," she said, "unless you really want to." "Maybe I do. You're pissed off at me for not being in love with Eric, aren't you?" "Of course I'm not. How could I be mad about something like that? Either you're in love with somebody or you're not." "Oh, we three are more used to ambiguity than that," I said. "Aren't we?"